Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 2nd of February 2021. Alright everyone, let's jump into the news from today. So I think the last 24 hours really on crypto Twitter has been dominated by this thing called Hashmasks. Now, for those who don't know, Hashmasks is a new kind of digital art, kind of NFT collectible that was launched, I think, a few days ago. And you could buy them for a few days in tranches. So the first tranche started at 0.1 ETH per hash mask, and there was like a limited number you can buy at that. Then it increased and increased and increased until it got to the end. And I think the last few were, I think there was 3 available for 100 ETH at the last tranche. And when you bought them, you didn't know which kind of one you got. You didn't know how rare it was or anything like that. You wouldn't know until they were all bought. So yesterday they all ended up being bought. And kind of the sale completed, and everyone's hash mask got revealed, and their rarity and everything got revealed as well. So the way it works is that you get, these unique hash masks, and they have unique traits, very similar to CryptoPunks. And obviously, there's rarer traits or more common traits, and people bought like 1, 2, 3, maybe 100 of these hash masks, and the rarer ones you got, the more that it's theoretically kind of valued at. And I made this meme here that I bought some. I got one good one that's kind of semi-rare, but not really like one of the rarest or anything like that, and the rest of them are kind of garbage. But I put out this meme here, as you can see on the screen, that it just reminded me of The Simpsons when Homer's trying to build a barbecue, and he looks at the box and he says, yeah, that's one fine looking barbecue pit, and then he puts the box down, and you can see that it's kind of a trash heap. But basically, what I really liked about the hash masks was that the art is really cool. So if I actually bring up their Twitter account here, you can see the art here. They're like posting a bunch of pictures of the different hash masks and the different rare ones and stuff like that. And originally I actually thought Hashmasks was just like an opportunistic ripoff of CryptoPunks, because it kind of came out of nowhere and obviously followed the CryptoPunks hype. But it's quite unique. I really like it. You can actually name your Hashmasks as well, and every one of them can have a unique name too. So if you manage to snap up a name that was kind of like still available, then that adds even more rarity to your hash masks. And the way that you change the name is with the name change token. So it's an ERC20 token that is tradable, and your hash masks accrue this token every day at a certain rate. So there's that aspect to it as well. But yeah, I'm just scrolling through here. You can see there's like a bunch of different designs here. Each one has like a different like a different mask, a different item that's holding, skin color, I think, type as well. And like I think the rarest out there is called a mystical kind of hash mask, and that's like 0.1% chance to get it, so it's extremely rare. But yeah, what I really liked about this was that the art, not just the art being really cool, but I think the reason, the art's cool, but I think what the art being cool does is it brings in newer people into the ecosystem, right? CryptoPunks wasn't everyone's cup of tea. It didn't really have any. They look cool, but it's more about, I think, the nostalgia factor with CryptoPunks, in that people that have been around for a while, I've been following the NFT space for a while. That's the first NFT, so obviously you want to buy it, and it kind of appeals to a different crowd. Whereas the hash masks, there's very different designs, and they're very different to CryptoPunks. And I think there's 16,000 of them, or a bit over 16,000 of them. And you can see here, there's like robots that, I guess this person says it looks like C3PO, and I thought the robots were really cool. And I remember DC Investor actually, if I go to DC Investor's profile here, he actually got a really cool one. You can see it here. This was actually, I looked at this, I'm like, that's awesome. He's got like a little shadow monkey on his shoulder here, which is, I think, incredibly rare as well. So yeah, it was just really cool to see the community showing off what they had, right? What they got. It's like when, I guess, you used to buy trading card packs, right, as a kid, and then you'd open them, and then you'd be at school or something, and then you'd show off the cards that you got to your friends that you opened from opening the pack. And I think that's kind of the same experience that happened with hash masks here. So I'm really excited to see this expanded, and this kind of like taken further than what it has. I think this can actually be expanded and extended to so many different use cases. Like, you can create, not every one of them is going to succeed, just like every trading card succeeded, or trading card game succeeded. But I think this can be extended to a bunch of different things where you can do different art, different implementations of it. I mean, the design space here is insane, and we've literally just scratched the surface. It's not even, I guess for me, it's not even just about like the value tied to it or anything like that. That just supercharges it. I think it's also about, the community aspect, right? Collecting these things as part of a community and getting back that feeling that you had when you were a kind of a kid, collecting these kind of things together, right? That's something that hasn't been around like when you're an adult, because it's usually regarded as a toy, or it's just not something that it's worth spending your time on. But now that, this is happening within the Ethereum ecosystem, and there's a bunch of different things happening, the potential is there to make money as well. And, there's no kind of like, bias against it or anything like that. Like, some people don't understand the value of NFTs, but even they said that the art was cool, right? They actually really thought it was cool, the art, and also how it was done with the reveals and things like that. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more of this. I don't think this is it. I think the NFT space is going to get wild. There's going to be so many experiments happening here. And what I really like about it as well is it's less prone to quote unquote rug pulls than I think like DeFi yield farms are, right? Where you're getting something tangible for the money you put in, right? Even if you're using it as an investment vehicle, I think it's less, kind of, I guess, speculative than just buying a bunch of tokens and using them as investment vehicles. Because even if you buy an NFT and maybe you like the way it looks and you think it looks cool and you want to own it and you want to kind of display it on in Decentraland or something like that, it still has value. Whereas if you buy a token that turns out to be a scam or something, that token goes to zero. So if an NFT project turns out to be maybe a scam or a rug pull, I guess you still have the NFT at the end of the day. So I mean, that's trying to put a positive spin on something that's very negative, but I think still from that point of view, even if the project fails, right? Even if it's just like not even a scam, but just something that people just weren't interested in, you still have your NFT on chain. No one can take that away from you, I guess, if it's set up in the correct order. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that play out over, I guess, the next few months and years, right? We're just getting started here. Personally, I haven't paid as much attention to the NFT space as I would have liked to, because there's just too much happening in DeFi. But I think, it's worth spending your time kind of paying attention to it, learning about it. There's tons of resources out there now that you can find just going on Twitter. There's a bunch of people you can follow. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but you can find them. They're not hard to find. So I mean, I'm sure if you just Google NFT newsletter, there'll be a bunch of things that pop up as well. So I think that, giving that kind of some of your time is worthwhile at this point. So layer 2 is a big topic right now within Ethereum. And actually on that note, I think NFTs are being priced out, unfortunately, of the Ethereum main chain because it's very costly to do anything on Ethereum right now. It makes sense for DeFi, but for NFTs, it doesn't make sense to trade a $1 item for $10 in gas fees. And it's probably much more than that in gas fees, considering how high the fees are. So I'm curious to see what kind of, I guess, layer 2 ecosystem that develops in the NFT space, which I'm actually going to talk about in a sec. Axie Infinity is working on this. But what I wanted to focus on first was this trading bot that I follow, or this bot that I follow on Twitter, that basically tweets out every 24 hours the layer 2 decentralized exchange trading volume. Now, you look at this, right? You look at number one, it's Loopring with $10 million of trading volume over the last 24 hours, which I actually think is an all-time high for Loopring trading volume. Maybe not, but it's definitely one of the higher days here. But this caught my attention because when I look at this, I get flashbacks to another bot, which used to track still does track the layer 1 trading volume on Ethereum, right? Like Uniswap and things like that. Now, I went back and checked, and I've written about this in the Daily Gwei newsletter today, but I went back and checked, and in May of 2020, right, 9 months ago, Uniswap was only doing $10 million of volume every 24 hours. Yep, that's right. Only $10 million of 24-hour trading volume 9 months ago. And for any of you kind of keeping track of this, today, Uniswap is doing $1 billion on average of 24-hour trading volume, which is a 100 times increase in 9 months. Now, maybe you see what I'm trying to draw here and the kind of like the dots I'm trying to connect here. What I'm saying is that I think Loopring and other layer 2 kind of dexes here, even though their trading volumes may seem low relative to their layer 1 counterparts, I think we're going to see a very, very quick growth here over the next few months, because it only took 9 months for Uniswap to grow to $1 billion in trading volume. So I think it's actually going to be faster because we know how Uniswap grew, right? We know kind of like, a lot of Uniswap's growth can be attributed to DeFi Summer, of course. But what happened in DeFi Summer to drive that growth? Liquidity mining, right? Yield farming, all these DeFi products entering the mainstream consciousness. We have more people using DeFi now. We don't have to kind of like bootstrap that community base anymore. We have it. And we know how to bootstrap liquidity. Loopring is doing liquidity mining on their layer 2 exchange. They know what they're doing. We have users who are already used to using MetaMask, which you can use MetaMask with Loopring. You don't have to download a new wallet. You don't have to do anything else. You don't have to change your RPC connection on MetaMask. You can just use it and migrate to it and kind of deposit and withdraw out of it very simply, right? They have like a whole process for this. So, and I was actually super surprised by the fact that Uniswap was only doing 10 million 9 months ago. Obviously, crypto time, it feels like forever ago, right? 9 months is literally decades in traditional finance if we're comparing the two. But still, I think that people, so I get some people messaging me sometimes, like, layer 2 growth seems slow, what's happening here? The fees are killing us, like, and I'm like to them, I basically say, like, it's pretty quick for what it is, right? We're already at $10 million of 24-hour trading volume over the last, I think, month. Loopring has really grown into this on their layer 2 exchange. And there's a bunch of others here. It's not just Loopring, but they're obviously a lot smaller. But, then I had to go back and look for the piece that I wrote today, and I was just shocked that in May of 2020, I actually went back and looked in 2019, and the trading volumes were obviously a lot less back then, but towards the end of 2019, I think it was like 3 or 4 million for Uniswap, which I expected because 2019 was a completely different time. But I did not expect to see only $10 million on Uniswap in May of 2020, just 9 months ago. And a 100x increase in in 9 months is incredible growth. So for all the reasons I just outlined, I think that layer 2 is going to grow as fast, if not faster, which makes me incredibly bullish. I mean, how can you not be bullish on layer 2 when you kind of look back and see that? I mean, it's not guaranteed that it's going to grow like this, but I mean, I don't see a reason why it won't. The gas fees are persistently high. I don't see them ever coming down to a reasonable level to where, retail traders or traders who just want to do a couple of $100 of swaps, it costs $50 to do that on Uniswap, or I guess like $30, $40, $50, whatever it is right now. Layer 2, it costs like, I think 2 cents or something on Loopring's exchange, and it's obviously like much faster and instant, and you get the same security guarantees as Ethereum's mainnet, or at least similar security guarantees. That right there is why layer 2 is going to win, right? So yeah, very, very excited to see that. But I'm still like in shock. I only discovered this like a couple of hours ago that Uniswap's volume was that low just 9 months ago. I obviously spend a lot of time in DeFi and monitor all the growth, but if you spend every single day in the ecosystem, it feels longer than 9 months. Like it actually feels like it's been 10 years, if I'm being honest, especially given how crazy of a year 2020 was. And, obviously, I feel like I've aged 10 years, but basically, yeah, I think that keeping an eye on this and following this account is going to be really great. I think we're going to see much more growth in the coming months, not just for Loopring, but other layer 2 exchanges. And, Uniswap's going to layer 2 as well. So it's just, just Uniswap going to layer 2 alone is going to blow out these volumes to hundreds of millions of dollars over 24 hours, pretty much like maybe within like a week or two of Uniswap launching on layer 2. I don't see a world in which layer 2 doesn't get to billions of dollars of trading volume over 24 hours this year. Like, I think it's actually going to surpass layer 1 by the end of this year. I guess like I wouldn't say it's like 100% chance, but maybe like a 50 to 70% chance if I have to put a number on it. Just because layer 1's going to grow as well, right? So maybe I should say that the layer 2 volume is going to surpass layer 1's volume today, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. And I wrote a little bit more about this in the Daily Gwei newsletter, but I guess I just gave you guys like a summary there. So yeah, I guess like, yeah, layer 2, paying attention to it is going to be the best use of your time for over the next few months. And on that topic as well, you can see here that another layer 2 app called zKSync, which a lot of you may be familiar with from Gitcoin. So zKSync is integrated into Gitcoin. It's like a payments layer 2 app. And you can donate to different Gitcoin grants on there during the matching rounds, and it's much cheaper. I think it's like 90% cheaper than mainnet, which is crazy because I think it costs over $100 if you donate to a bunch of projects on layer 1. Whereas obviously that's bad because a lot of the donations are small, right? They're like 1, 5, 10 DAI donations. So you obviously need layer 2 for that. And that's what zKSync is. And they just crossed 1 million zKSync transactions, which I thought was awesome, right? And I think we're going to get much more than that. Because the next Gitcoin grants round I expect to be massive, which is happening in a few weeks. I expect that to be the biggest round ever because of the fact that I guess the ecosystem has made a lot of money lately, and there's a lot of money to give away and to donate, and we've got a lot more people in the ecosystem now. So I expect that to be quite large. So yeah, that's just going to grow as well. I spoke before about NFTs being unfortunately priced out of layer one, or at least not all of them, but most of them. And Axie Infinity, I think, is one where Axie Infinity is this Pokemon-like game where you can battle with your little Axies and collect them and kind of earn rewards and stuff like that. So what they've been working on over the last few months is a scalability solution for their Axie Infinity game called Ronin. Now, Ronin is a sidechain to Ethereum, but their plan is to basically make it so that this sidechain checkpoints to Ethereum for its security. Now, I'll do a little bit of a job explaining what I mean by checkpointing here, because I've talked about layer 2 before and how, scalability solutions on Ethereum before, and how there's a very key difference between layer 2 and side chains. So layer 2 is inherently secured by the Ethereum mainnet, right? That's the definition of layer 2. Whereas side chains are secured by their own validator set. Now, what this means is that the Ethereum miners, for example, do not secure the sidechain. The sidechain is secured by their own miners, which are usually proof of stake kind of validators, because no one uses proof of work mining for these new networks anymore. So, but what these sidechains can do is they can actually checkpoint to the Ethereum main chain. So they can save their state, essentially, the state of their sidechain to the Ethereum main chain, and then that becomes secured by the Ethereum network. So that if there's a malicious thing that happens on the side chain, say the validators take it over or something really bad happens, you can always go back to that checkpoint and kind of reboot from that. Now, the frequency of the checkpointing, I think, would depend on the gas fees, because I'm assuming here that checkpointing isn't going to be cheap to the Ethereum main chain. So you obviously can't be doing it like every second or whatever, or even every minute, maybe not even every hour, depending how expensive it is. But maybe you're doing it once a day. Maybe you're doing it once a week, right? And obviously, that becomes an attack vector, I guess, where you checkpoint on a Monday and then someone says, I'm going to wait till Sunday to attack this, Ronin sidechain and mess everything up, so that they have to checkpoint back to Monday and lose all that progress. So I think there might be some ways to randomize that as well, where you can do a randomized shuffle of checkpointing so that no one actually knows when the checkpoint's going to be taken. There's probably some zero knowledge magic you can work into this so that no one actually knows when the checkpoint's taken at all, right? You know that it happened, but you don't know when it happened. And that's actually possible with zero knowledge technology, from what I understand. So that's another really cool thing there. And bringing it back to Ronin, I think that's what their long-term plan is, and I think that's what other sidechain solutions like Matic and Xdine Network want to do as well. So I think we're just going to have this very, very nice ecosystem of sidechains and layer 2 solutions that are going to scale Ethereum to billions of users. And maybe the other blockchains play into that as well. I consider other layer 1 blockchains, when they bridge into Ethereum, just to be sidechains to Ethereum. But at the end of the day, Ethereum, in my view, is always going to be the most secure settlement layer on the planet, right? It's going to be where everyone goes for their assets. All the assets are going to live there. Any assets that aren't on the Ethereum main chain are going to be wrapped and put on the Ethereum main chain. Everything's going to settle there. Even I can imagine a world where even like other blockchains might try and settle their state to ETH1, or to the Ethereum main chain. That might be way too expensive and might not even be possible. But if it is, maybe they decide to do that, I guess, depending on how expensive it is. So yeah, I am just like super pumped to see this happening, because typically actually in the past, before I dug more into sidechains, I kind of thought they were a meh solution. I thought that layer 2s would be better, but there are trade-offs to each kind of thing here. Layer 2s are awesome, but you don't need that extreme security for everything. Now, sidechains fill niches in that regard, where say you want to do like a decentralized Twitter, for example. A layer 2, unfortunately, even in ETH2 with sharding, is probably not going to get you to the scale of a decentralized Twitter at this point in time. It's probably going to take a while before we get there. But a sidechain might, right? A sidechain that has only a handful of validators, which probably centralizes it a bit, but still better than just like a fully centralized kind of party. that can, host a decentralized Twitter, and then you can checkpoint to the Ethereum main chain and checkpoint user balances, checkpoint user, points and stuff like that, and user state. That is the future that I see happening, and I'm looking forward to, seeing which projects kind of win here. I think the leaders right now are XDAI, Matic. Ronin's very new, so I don't know if I wouldn't say they're a leader yet, but Axie Infinity is definitely a leader in the NFT space. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all plays out over the coming months. So Alpha Homora V2 has officially launched. So I think I've spoken about this before, and just full disclosure here, I own Alpha tokens, but basically what Alpha Homora is it's a yield farming app that lets you do leverage yield farming. And it's one of the, I guess for me, the reason I hold Alpha is because it's actually one of the best products in DeFi right now. It came out of nowhere, right? But it came and it's like a top 10 DeFi project now. And with the launch of V2, they've basically, I guess, upgrading their entire system, adding a bunch of new features. But the most exciting feature that they're doing is that they added a bunch of these new 4 leveraged pools from Curve Finance, from Balancer, SushiSwap, and Uniswap. And in particular, the Curve Finance one is the 3 pool. So the USDT, USDC DAI pool. And that's very safe for yield farming because it's stablecoins only. And you can see here, Andre put out a tweet today that the 3 pool was actually doing, by using leveraged yield farming, was paying 346% on your stablecoins. And the last time I checked, I think it was more than that. When I checked a few hours ago, it was 500% on your stablecoins. Obviously, this is going to come down. But the reason that they can do this is because of leverage yield farming, right? Basically levering up and getting a bonus here. You can see here that on the picture, on the image for the Curve 3 pool, they've crossed out 18.45%, which is the normal yield you would get just farming with Curve. And they've put like 346% there, which is the kind of APY that you get for kind of doing this leverage yield farming with this 3 pool. That's just awesome. And this is actually enabled by the Iron Bank. So I've spoken about the Iron Bank from Cream before, where there are protocols that can become whitelisted to basically do under-collateralized lending from the different platforms, because you know that they're going to pay back the collateral, right? You can trust that they're going to pay back the borrow that they've done. And because of this, you can see this tweet here from Sam Priestley. He says that, Alpha Homora V2 launched and immediately ate up all of the available stablecoin liquidity in the Iron Bank, which is obviously huge for Alpha and Cream, and also YFI or Yearn, because Yearn has different vaults as well for this sort of stuff. So this is a huge kind of narrative that I'm kind of or use case that I'm paying attention to, is this idea of protocol to protocol. I guess not just like under collateralized or zero collateral lending, but protocols working with each other and trusting each other, because it scales a lot better. Like trying to trust like users isn't inherently scalable, because you have to trust like potentially millions of users, right? And it's very, very hard to trust them to, not run away with the money if you do zero collateral lending. But this can be extended, right? Because what they're doing now is we're trusting protocols, but what you can actually do is extend this where the protocol can trust the user with a borrow or an under collateralized or a zero collateral borrow, because they can put limits on what the user can do with those funds. So if you say, go to the app and you say, okay, I'm going to use these funds to yield farm, and if at any time I need that these funds need to be kind of paid back to, pay back my kind of loan or to recollateralize the system, you can take them, right? The protocol has the permission to take those funds. Now, obviously there's security kind of implications here, and it needs to be done in a certain way to preserve that and preserve user kind of security. But that is really, really awesome as well, I think. So guaranteeing on chain that the protocol can access this liquidity when it needs to pay back loans or to recollateralize itself, so that it doesn't just become a kind of thing where the funds are lost sort of thing. So I think that's really cool as well. And that's a different kind of way and scalable way to do it from like protocol to user. But we're going to start with this protocol to protocol stuff that happens. And then once we kind of do that, right, and we get comfortable with that, it can be extended to users, which I'm really looking forward to. And on that note, another project that I wanted to talk about that published their blog post today about why they're building Maple is Maple Finance. So full disclosure, I'm an investor in Maple Finance. I actually met the founders of this in Melbourne, where I live, a couple of years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago or something like that, early 2019, or I think it was early 2019. Yeah, back when I wasn't even working in crypto, I was working at my old job. So it's been a while, but they've been building this for quite a while. And so what they're building is I guess a DeFi lending protocol for kind of more of the corporate and institutional side of things, to bring credit to them. So if you kind of see, I guess, like lending platforms and money markets today on Ethereum, they don't have a concept of credit. I was just talking about zero collateral loans to different protocols, but right now users can't take out zero collateral loans on Ethereum or on these money markets. They need to over collateralize, on pretty much all the money markets. Now, you might draw a corollary here and say, okay, well, why don't we have to over collateralize in real life? Why can we do zero collateral kind of loans in real life with a bank or whatever? And I mean, technically, you're not doing zero collateral. The collateral that you're using in real life is your identity, right? Is the fact that, if you don't pay back this loan, the bank could pursue you for this. They could get kind of the law enforcement on you. They can get regulators on you. They can get debt collectors on you, right? Because they know where you are. And the legal system kicks in then, right? Even if you try to flee the country, if it gets to that point, right, you're probably going to be put on a no-fly list or something, or tracked down. I mean, it just becomes a mess, right? So your collateral is your identity, is the fact that they know who you are, and the legal system is there to protect the lenders in real life, right? So from that point of view, the money markets on Ethereum don't have credit. They just have over collateralized lending and borrowing. So what Maple is trying to do is they're trying to bring this concept of credit to Ethereum through various different ways. I won't explain, now how it all works, but I suggest going to check out this project if that's something you're interested in. But this blog post is really interesting as well. They just basically give a kind of TLDR as to why they're building this. It kind of talks to what I just spoke about as well. But I think, the reason I invested in this company is because I believe this is going to be, a huge kind of market, a huge tool for a lot of, I guess, the traditional folk to get into this sort of stuff. They don't want to over collateralize loans. That doesn't map to the reality of what they're currently doing. And it's just such a waste of capital, right? The capital efficiency is just out the window when you do over collateralized loans. Because you can think about, for example, all the ETH sitting in MakerDAO right now. All that ETH is backing up DAI, for example, but it's just a waste, right? There's so much capital there that it's just wasted. It's just sitting there doing nothing. So the capital efficiency is just really bad. And I guess that's what Alpha Finance and the Iron Bank and kind of all those things are trying to do with the protocol-to-protocol zero collateral lending, is make sure that it's not just wasted, right? Is that the capital that doesn't just sit there and do nothing. It's actually used in a safe and scalable way within DeFi. So, that's what Maple's trying to bring, I guess, to the traditional finance system, to corporates, to institutions who obviously have, the hunger to get involved with this stuff, but they're not going to over collateralize things. They're probably not going to use a lot of the money markets that are live today, at least in their current iterations. They're probably going to want, a human to kind of interface with. So that's what kind of Maple's building here. So yeah, I won't shill it too much. I suggest going to check it out because it's a really awesome project. They're not live yet. They're currently building, but they should be live sometime soon. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this kind of plays and kind of what the reaction is within the community to it. If we see, this expanded out to the community and see how the regular community interacts with it, rather than just the traditional finance folk, which I think is actually going to be quite cool to see. But yeah, go check it out if you haven't yet. And I guess that's it for me today. So yes, thank you everyone again for watching and listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up. Join the Discord channel and subscribe to the ETHub, the Daily Gwei newsletter. I also do an ETHub newsletter for those who don't know. You can check that out too if you want. But yeah, subscribe to the Daily Gwei newsletter and I will catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.